Mushum, why do we honor the buffalo skull at our ceremonies? The grandson asked his grandfather. They stood looking at a buffalo display in a museum. The buffalo were once great creatures that our people relied on for survival, the grandfather answered. Why the buffalo? Asked the grandson. Grandfather invited his grandson to sit on a bench beside him. A long time ago, our people came from the northern woodlands to the Great Plains looking for food, grandfather said. They saw that the buffalo lived in harmony with Mother Earth, the same as our people did. Weren't there other animals too? Asked the grandson. Yes, Nassissim, there were other large and small animals that were useful, but the buffalo was valued above them all. Tell me more, Mushum, said the grandson. At first, our ancestors did not know much about this huge creature that roamed the prairies or how to hunt it. I don't know anything about them either, said the grandson. I have never seen a real one. The grandfather rose and took his grandson by the hand. Come, I will tell you the story about the buffalo, the Pasquamustus, and how we came to honor them, said grandfather. They rode in grandfather's car until they left the city far behind and were deep in the countryside. Grandfather stopped the car on a gravel road beside a strong barbed wire fence surrounding a huge expanse of wind-swept prairie. As they got out of the car, the grandson asked, What is this place, Mushum? You will see, Nassissim, said grandfather. He led his grandson through a gate. They walked across the rolling prairie, rich with tall grasses, mint, and wildflowers, until they came to the top of a rise. Why are we here? Asked the grandson. He couldn't see anything but a vast stretch of undulating prairie below them. Keep watching, said grandfather. He pointed towards black specks in the distance. Grandfather lowered himself to the ground and quietly gazed across the wide-opened land. The grandson settled beside him. After some moments, his grandfather began the story of the buffalo. One day, Buffalo said to the Creator, I see the two-leggeds have come to the plains and need assistance to live. I would like to help them. What will you do for them, Buffalo? Asked the Creator. I will give them myself, said Buffalo. I will let them use every part of my body, as all are equal. They will have shelter, food, clothing, and many other things to aid in their survival. Tell me how you will do this, said the Creator. Buffalo started to name his body parts. They will use my hair and wool for halters, ropes, and for stuffing saddle pads, pillows, cushions, and even dolls for the young two-leggeds to play with. As well, they will make headdresses, ornaments, bracelets, hairpieces, and medicine balls. My fur is also good for blankets, saddle covers, halters, and for making gloves and lining moccasins to keep their hands and feet warm in the cold winter. The skin of my hind leg is already pre-shaped for moccasins or boots. They will eat my meat and my organs so that they will not starve. My flesh may be eaten raw, or it may be boiled or roasted. The rest will be dried to make jerky and pemmican with fat berries and nuts or seeds. I see you have many uses for your body, said the Creator. There is more, said Buffalo. My insides that are not used for food are good for many other purposes, too. My tongue is the best part of the meat to eat, but the rough side will also make a good hairbrush. My bladder is useful for sinew, quill pouches, and small medicine bags. My scrotum can be used to make rattles and small pouches. My paunch and large intestine will line buckets, cups, basins, and dishes so they do not leak. And my gall can be used for yellow paints to decorate many things. My 4-chambered stomach has a lining that can be used for carrying and storing water, for cooking vessels, and for cups and dishes. The content of my first stomach will help cure frostbite and skin diseases, and also for mixing paint. My hide will provide shelter, clothing, bedding, and other objects, Buffalo continued to explain. My untanned hide will be made into moccasin soles, armbands, belts, caps, and headdresses for the two-leggeds to wear. They will also use it to make buckets, bullet pouches, ropes, containers, knife sheaths, straps, and thongs. For the horses that they will ride in pursuit of me, they will make horse masks, harnesses, cinches, stirrups, saddles, saddle blanket shields, lariats, and forehead ornaments. They will make mortars and parafleshes and use my hide for bull boats and shrouds to honor their dead. When they are hurt or injured, the two-leggeds will make splints and medicine bags. Winter robes will make them comfortable in the cold, and snowshoes will help them get around in the deep snow. In their ceremonies, they will use my hide to craft drums and drumsticks, rattles, and masks. My hide will be flexible when it is tanned, suitable for teepee and sweat lodge covers and liners. The two-leggeds may also use my soft tanned hide to clothe themselves in dresses, leggings, moccasin tops, breechcloths, belts, and shirts. They will also create headdresses for ceremonies and costumes to disguise themselves as they hunt me. Cradles and dolls will be made for the younger two-leggeds, and the women will make tapestries. Pouches and containers will also come in handy, as will bedding belts for when they roll up their possessions and travel from place to place in search of me. They will also be able to use my tanned hide to make gun cases and lance covers, quivers, shields, rattles, bridles, backrests, paint bags, and pipe bags for everyday use. How will they be able to tan your hide? Asked the Creator. My brains, which can be eaten as food, are useful for tanning. My liver makes a good tanning agent too. The Creator said, I am impressed that you have so many useful parts to help the two-leggeds to gain their basic needs. Ah, but there is even more of me they can use, said Buffalo. My bones can be used for tools and weapons, so that they might hunt and preserve me for their needs. Spear handles, knives, riding whips, paintbrushes, pipes, splints, shovels, and arrow strengtheners will be made for use in their everyday lives. My bones will also make good saddle trees, to form part of a harness to fit across the back of a horse or dog, for pulling and carrying whatever they need. To defend themselves, they will use my bones to make war clubs. My tibia and other bones can be used for awls, fleshers, and brushes. My heel bones will make billet straps. My ribs will make arrowheads and scrapers or fleshing tools. They will also use my ribs for dance sticks and runners for constructing rib sleds, to haul goods, and for the young two-leggeds to play with in the summer. My shoulder blades will make good hoes and sledge runners or winter sleds. The young two-leggeds will also use my bones for toys and game dice. All can paint on my bones and make carvings of them for decorations and use in their ceremonies. They will use my horns for cups, ladles, and spoons, powder horns, fire carriers, signals, and for headdresses and toys. When they take the caps off my horns to make arrow points, I will whisper to them about medicines to heal themselves. My sinews are for glue, bowstrings, arrow ties, cinches, and thread, and can also be used as snowshoe webbing. My hooves, feet, and dew claws are also for making glue, rattles, spoons, and tools. My blood will be used in soups, puddings, and paints. They will use my fat for tallow to make candles, and for soap, cosmetic aids, and hair grease. Necklaces and ornamentation will be made from my teeth. My tail will be used for medicine switches, fly brushes, switches, and outer teepee and lodge decorations. And even my dung has purpose for ceremonial smoking, fuel for cooking fires, and sending signals. The two-leggeds will also find that it makes good diaper powder, toys, and jewelry. They will use my beard for ornamentation on weapons and on dolls or apparel, such as mittens. You seem to have everything necessary in their daily lives, said the Creator. You will give them shelter, food, and clothing, and provide tools, weapons, and utensils. There will be no waste, Buffalo said. How will the two-leggeds know where to find you? The Creator asked. They will offer respectful gifts to one of their wise old ones, who will pray and ask for directions to the most healthy of us. Before they leave to search for me, the two-leggeds must bless their hunting tools, horses, and everything that they will use in the hunt. As soon as they make a successful kill, they will eat a raw piece of my liver and put little bits of my body around the area. As they do this, they will give thanks for all the gifts the Creator has bestowed on them every day. Although sometimes they will eat my eyes, they must also preserve part of one, so that the wise old ones will be able to see buffalo in the future, whenever they are in need. I have one final question, said the Creator. How will the two-leggeds honor your abundant gifts? Buffalo answered, the two-leggeds will consider my skull sacred. They will decorate it for use in ceremonies, and my bones will be prayer objects. They will also use my skull in rituals like the sun dance, rain dance, and in medicine prayers. The Creator said, I am well pleased, and because of your great sacrifices, the two-leggeds may address me through you. Thank you for this honor, Creator, said Buffalo. You have planned your offerings well, Buffalo, said the Creator. Now we must speak of the future. I know the day will come when I will be no more, Buffalo said, dropping his head. Yes, said the Creator, but even when you are gone, the two-leggeds will honor you for all that you have sacrificed and all that you gave for their survival. They will continue to give thanks for receiving your gifts and for all the gifts of life every day. Grandfather rose to his feet. And that's what happened. One day there were no buffalo for our people, and life changed. But the story of the buffalo's gifts to us was passed down by the old people. We continue to honor the sacred buffalo medicine and keep the memories alive. The grandson turned to his grandfather. I understand now why the buffalo skull is important in our ceremonies. They were our way of life. Grandfather nodded. The old people also said there would be a time when the buffalo needed our help. This is also why we must continue to remember them and offer prayers to their spirit. Morsham, look! The grandson jumped to his feet and pointed. The black specks seemed to be moving closer at a fast pace. Is that buffalo? The grandson asked. Yes, Nasissim, said Grandfather. The buffalo honor us by coming to greet us. Grandfather closed his eyes and began to sing a song of thanks in Cree. The grandson watched the herd pound across the prairie towards them in a swelling cloud of dust. Even before he heard the low rumbling, the ground began to shake. The herd of buffalo thundered closer and closer. Within moments, they would be at their hill upon which they stood. The grandson clutched his grandfather's hand and prepared to run. Grandfather gripped his grandson's hand, but his voice and song were steady. The grandson closed his eyes like Mushum. Even though he didn't know the words, he began to sing softly to take his mind off the rapidly approaching buffalo. As the ground trembled harder and the rumbling noise grew louder, the grandson peeked. Closer and closer the buffalo came. Quickly he shut his eyes. Though he was quaking, the grandson began to sing louder and louder, trying to drown out the thundering roar and his fear. When he could stand it no more, he peeked again. As the grandson watched, the massive buffalo herd veered around their hill at the last possible moment in billowing clouds of dust. Grandfather's song died away as the last of the main herd thundered past them. The grandson watched an aging buffalo straggle behind the others. The old one slowed for a moment, and his enormous head swiveled towards them. Grandfather locked eyes with the great beast. The grandson held his breath as two pairs of dark brown eyes connected, sharing some message. A moment later, the old buffalo gave a loud snort and wheeled away to catch up to the rest of the herd. The grandson and his grandfather watched the buffalo pound across the prairie until the ground became still once again, and the rumbling fell away into silence. Finally, the grandson spoke. "Mushum, will you teach me the ways and the songs to honor the buffalo?" he asked. "You've already had your first lesson." Grandfather's eyes twinkled. The grandson laughed. "Yes, but I need lots of practice." Grandfather smiled. "Grandson, there is always much to learn about buffalo medicine." The grandson slipped his hand into his grandfather's, and the two looked over the broad prairie at the buffalo grazing in the distance.